Tom Burkhardt from Car-Revs Daily with some interesting news to report today. I'm in the 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe Ultimate, and I'm actually surprised to say this, but the Santa Fe long wheelbase Ultimate is one of the quickest and best value midsize 3-row crossovers on the market. It's a really impressive vehicle, and I'm excited to show you guys how this front wheel drive version of the Santa Fe SUV, this biggest car that Hyundai sells in the United States, does out on the handling lip. 3.3 liter V6 making 290 horsepower and 252 foot-pounds of torque. Has plenty of get up and go, as you just saw. Had a nice little wheel spin launch there. So we're gonna head out on the loop. I'm gonna put the camera facing forward and so we know that Santa Fe V6 is pretty speedy. Is it sporty as well? That's what we're here to find out on this twisty handling loop. So speedy is a relative term, but under 7 seconds is pretty good these days versus the new GMC Acadia and Chevrolet Traverse, which have standard 4-cylinder powertrains and really need almost a $50,000 price before you can get a V6 in the truck. And then to get comparable pace from Explorer or some other rivals, you need their best motors, which again is close to $50,000. So where Santa Fe comes in is that it's cheaper than that, basically. This front-wheel drive Santa Fe Limited Ultimate starts from about $41,000, and then with the Limited Ultimate package or Ultimate Tech package, we're up to $50,000 for the front-wheel drive model, and then 44 or 45 for the for the all-wheel drive. We're in the front drive truck right now. So it is a little bit more affordable, and it's also a feature fest. So we'll talk about we'll structure it in terms of what's good and what could be better for the review. So first off, so what's good? So obviously, the roominess of the truck is really good. Seats 6 with bucket seats in the second row of this loaded model, but I think a bench is available in some of the cheaper trims, and is very useful and practical. That third row folds totally flat and in 2 segments, so you have a ton of cargo room with even one of those segments folded, albeit not that much cargo room with both of them up. But in general, the other things that drivers will love about it is that it's a feature fest. This Santa Fe Limited Ultimate has almost every technology feature that people could be shopping for. I mean, for any car under $100,000, this car has almost all of it. So with that Ultimate Tech package, we've got all the active safety systems like lane departure warning and lane keep assist, a really good active cruise control, as well as blind spot monitor, backup braking and warning, and blind spot, and many other goodies. So, and that's all standard. The Santa Fe, one of its biggest things is that, that all comes on the car with just one option box checked, and that is a big advantage for this car versus some vehicles which are more difficult to buy. I'm thinking about the Dodge Durango as I say that, because there are just so many versions of some other cars, and you have so many option packages that you need to order in order to get the right spec. That's this nice lady. She's moving. So Santa Fe is really easy to buy, easy to own, and easy to love. I mean, this is a car that really does everything pretty well, including this handling loop. So Santa Fe is a little bit, it's a little bit lower these days than most family crossovers. So it has sort of a low roof and sort of a kind of a racy look with these 5-spoke wheels for 2018. It looks very cool. This truck, the long wheelbase Santa Fe. So there are 2 Santa Fe's. There's the Santa Fe Sport, and then this Santa Fe proper. So this long wheelbase Santa Fe got a refresh for 2018 with a new nose, new tail, and some fantastic LEDs. So you've got LED daytime running lights in the vertical bars in the edges of the front bumper, and then inside there you've also got LED fog lights, which is pretty cool. And then for the lower portion of the headlight, there's also a white LED graphic there, and yeah, and standard halogen projectors, projectors for the low and high beams. But with this tech package, it's about $2,000, I think. You do get high intensity discharge lighting, automatic high beams, and dynamic bending lights. So there's adaptive cornering function for the low beams, where the projectors swivel around and follow your steering inputs, which is pretty cool. It's just a nice feature to have. I mean, as is all this stuff. Like LED brake lights are great to have. Like this truck runs, and it just is bang up to date with technology, and honestly looks more premium than you would expect a mid $40,000 Hyundai to appear. I mean, this thing could really run with a gang of X5s and any Lexus SUV you can think of, and be pretty respected, because it does look exceptionally premium this year with the new face. The LEDs really help, and then the limited Santa Fe gets a unique 5-bar grille and some dark silver accent pieces like in the side sills and the front and rear pseudo skid plates. So definitely not an off-roader for this car, but who really wants that in a family crossover these days? Very, very few people. So this Santa Fe is low in terms of the roof, which lowers the center of gravity. It's also really low to get inside and makes it super easy for little kids, with a totally flat floor all the way back and even in front here almost, with this deep console. And is generally like pretty comfortable. It's fairly quiet. It rides like a little sportier than Highlander, but it still has a really good overall and controlled ride quality. And they need a little bit of firmness, because even with this sort of fairly stiff suspension, there's still there's some squat on braking, and then there's a lot of I mean, it's like genuinely pretty rapid, at least with no kiddies and other passengers in here. But with under big acceleration, there is like some squat from the rear end, and so that the front end. The fore and aft rocking motion is a little bit less contained than the actual body roll, which seems very, very well managed in this handling loop. The truck is doing better than I expected out here. When I first got in, I wasn't a huge fan. I thought the steering felt weird, and the drivetrain was lackluster. But as I've been driving it for a couple days, I'm a fan. I like this car. I have to say it. We've got drive modes like Sport, Eco, and Normal, which is good. It's always nice to have, as well as this electronic parking brake, automatic hold, heated and cooled seats, this great navigation system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and then 3 years of Hyundai's BlueLink standard. So that's the app-based, like you get a Hyundai BlueLink app on your phone, and then you can unlock or lock the car with your phone, start the car with your phone, all for free for 3 years. So that's pretty good. It's comfortable, it's fairly luxurious, and just great value, and a lot of horsepower for your money. So these are all really, really good things, of course. So where does it need improvement? I mean, this is the car that every car maker wants in their lineup. Car-based vehicle, still decent, 1723 for the fuel economy, but has a lot of room and really can be a credible 3-row SUV very, very nicely. So all other manufacturers would love to have this model in their range. I mean, this is a lot lighter vehicle than Explorer, and a lot easier to drive. Same versus Durango, but really doesn't give up much capability or space to those sort of chunkier crossovers out there. So Santa Fe is a really good truck. So where could it be better? So the steering, there's a lot of torque steer in this front wheel drive model. Or not a lot, but definitely a noticeable amount of torque steer. that is that perhaps could be managed a little bit better. I don't think most drivers will experience it as like I am right now, or like we are, but it does. It is out there. And then there is some difficulty putting traction down to the ground. This car has 19-inch 245 width tires, and I think they need to be 255s or 265s. So you could do that as an owner with the first time you get tires. You could just like go to a wider thing and keep the same wheels. But it would be nice if Hyundai included wider wheels to improve the handling overall. And the ability of the car to put down its traction a little bit more effectively. But it still is very capable of this road. I'm extremely surprised. Driving out here, I also now notice that there's actually decent lateral support from these seats, and I do like the driving position. I mean, it's a genuinely comfortable vehicle. Nice floor-mounted accelerator is very European. So where does it need to be different? Well, I don't like the steering wheel for some reason. It feels like really like a throwback. It doesn't have any paddles, and it's just kind of like awkward to hold. And some of the controls for like a lot of the Hyundai system management options, like for drive modes and door locks and light settings, all live in the mid cluster. But there isn't a really easy or intuitive way to control those functions from the steering wheel. It's just sort of like a 2-button thing, so it's a little confusing versus the latest Hyundais, and I think it needs paddles and just a sportier steering wheel design would benefit the truck a lot. So that's nice, but overall outside it looks super classy and fancy, posh and premium. And then inside it does a fairly good impression of a luxury SUV, but it's not actually like super luxe in its design and material choices. You've got it's a nice like earth tone feel inside here, with light sort of like wheat or oatmeal colored leathers, and then a matching sort of textured rubberized panel for this area, and then brown sort of elephant ear plastics for the rest of this, the rest of the dashboard and stuff like that. And there's even like some sort of pseudo open pore wood here, and lots of like silver metallic trim pieces that are like suitably modern. But I mean, this is kind of like, this sort of button fest is not exactly does not exactly shout premiumness, nor does this like giant central knob. I mean, it's just sort of like Hyundai's previous design aesthetics got perfected in this truck, and the next generation of Hyundai interior feel has not yet been applied to Santa Fe. It could also do with a little bit more insulation in the back. Like as I've been driving sort of hard this week, it's like stuff is clanking around or not clanking, but sort of shifting back there. I think underneath the third floor, behind the third row, the floor there has something that's sort of like moving around, and the seats kind of like the seats in the back, you can see them like vibrate as you're driving. Like they're not mounted super. I don't know why that would be, but the seats maybe should just need to not vibrate in your rearview mirror. And but beyond that, I mean, this is a really, really exceptionally competitive car for 2018, even into 2019 and 2020, and one that families are really going to love because it has every feature you could possibly think of, and doesn't break the bank. So that's nice stuff. We'll talk to you guys next time. This is Tom Burkhardt from Car-Revs Daily in the 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe Limited.